Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons here at the 2025 GEOINT Symposium in St. Louis, Missouri. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Cultivation Capital with two representatives. First, John, what was your last name?
True.
True, okay. And Andy Deering. Gentlemen, we're gonna start off with. Can you give us a little bit of insights of who you are and your history with your involvement of how you got where you are today? I say the industry as a whole, but this is unique, and you cover a lot more industries than just geospatial. But a little bit of background to yourself before I dive into cultivation.
Oh, cool. To myself.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. Let's talk about you.
Happy to do that. Born and raised here in St. Louis.
Okay.
Computer science educated and had the pleasure of working in Silicon Valley and software firms for most of the first 25 years of my career, and then have worked on and become a struggling investor for the last 15 years now, of which Cultivation Capital is a big part of that.
Awesome. How about yourself, Andy?
So been in the geospatial industry for about 25 years now, starting with startups and ranging through startups to large private companies that do geospatial technology to open source geospatial startups as well, and happened to after selling the company, had the pleasure of actually joining Cultivation Capital, and as we started thinking about the ecosystem, and then have been in and around for 5 or 6 years thinking about not only growing the St. Louis geospatial ecosystem, but also one of the recommendations of having the investing in new startups that are in the area that would be emerging from the ecosystem that we're building. And so it's a nice complement to the work that we were doing on the ecosystem side to that. And then as of recent, working closely with a publicly traded company with geospatial and flying airplanes. So.
Awesome. Now, talking about Cultivation Capital for a few minutes here, can you give us some insights of who the organization is and what you're known for?
Cool. Yeah, we've been around for, I guess, close to a dozen years now. We got started as an early stage venture capital fund in investing in software, primarily software sold to businesses. And we were one of the first, headquartered in the middle part of the United States, trying to take advantage of a gap in invested capital in the middle part of the U.S. In addition, we play a civic role in trying to help identify, invest in, and build the next generation of great technology companies here locally in St. Louis. And so over the last decade, we've had the good fortune of doing that, as well as then adding several other industry-specific areas of investing, one of which we're the most excited about is geospatial, which once again, it is very much a commercial endeavor as well as a civic endeavor to really help St. Louis continue on its mission, become one of the centers of gravity in the world, quite honestly, for geospatial technology companies.
Now, what's that trend look like in the last, we'll say, 5 years? I know Cultivation Capital has made a huge name in terms of investing into geospatial companies or putting forth a lot of investment in the ecosystem as it is. And I expect you have a lot of insights in terms of the trends and what you're seeing, and maybe some insights of how things are going in leading up till now.
Sure. So maybe two things. First of all, that anytime you meet with anybody that says they know what the future holds, you should trust your instincts that they probably don't know what they're talking about. So we're actively learning and researching where we think the technology continues to go. There are a few foundational layers to why we believe the growth in geospatial technology, particularly around software and data. And so one of the kind of truths is that today there are many more satellites in the air than ever before, and that number is expected to grow logarithmically over the next decade. And so those satellites will continue to capture data, and so our ability to commercialize that data and then wrap that data with great programs, application, and artificial intelligence to allow people to make really important decisions about everything from climate change to agriculture to national defense, to be able to take that software and data and put it in their hands with great information.
What would you say your advice is to startups and new companies in terms of how they can best succeed for the things that you're looking for?
I think the one thing, especially when you're talking to folks that are here maybe at the GEOINT conference and your startups, is thinking beyond just the federal government play. The government can be a great first starter, and you talk about SIBRs and other things that are available to them. That helps you lift off and launch. But thinking about it, especially for where we invest, we want to invest in dual use technology, right? And so showing how you can be brought out into the commercial world, but also, federal government is a great source of revenue, and you help solve those problems for those customers. But if you see that concentration too heavily on the federal government, we also know the ebbs and flows of that funding stream. And so what we like to see, and what a lot of other firms like to see, is a lot of dual use that happens, and being able to apply that same technology or technique in the commercial sector as well.
Right. And what kinds of things are you looking for at the GEOINT Symposium as you're here walking the floor?
Well, I think the interesting part is you've seen ebbs and flows of services companies, solutions companies, and a lot of now data and content companies, and whether they're launching on satellites because it's easier to do that, or they're analyzing things that are further downstream. I think the real question is, what solutions, what problems are they solving? Are they a solution looking for a problem, or are they actually solving some problems for this customer base? Because we know that in the GEOINT community, there's too much data, there's not enough eyeballs, there's not enough analysts to be able to do the job. And so how are they taking all of that together, maybe using exquisite techniques with AI or machine learning to be able to help support those needs? So that's what would be interesting, but really solving some of those customer problems.
Great. No, I'm sorry, do you have any input to that, sir?
I would say one more kind of civic or community-minded thing is we're actively looking for companies that have started, have great traction, that might have great value in having a presence here in St. Louis, where they can get connected with the NGA, the investment community, and the great set of technical expertise that are here, that they can grow a presence in St. Louis.
Well, that's a good overlap to the next question I have in terms of, there's a lot of companies curious and openly wondering, is it worth us to come to St. Louis? What's our place here? And what is your personal opinion, and what words of, we'll call it, encouragement can you give these companies saying maybe St. Louis is a good ecosystem to be a part of?
Well, I would say, having done some of the ecosystem building work here, the ingredients for, especially with startups, the ingredients are talent, capital, and then some part of that customers, right? So if you have the three pieces of those elements there, that's attractive and that can be sustaining for startups in that world. And so, I would say Greater St. Louis Inc. With the GeoFutures roadmap. They're trying to light up those different segments of, at least, hey, you are a startup, maybe you do get some capital, whether it be grant-based or even investment-based. How do you start applying that or using this ecosystem as a way to get access to customers or get access to the talent that you need to help build and grow? And so that's really what I think the ecosystem in St. Louis is trying to do, is say, how can we make that easier? How can we create less, reduce friction that you have as a startup, worrying about those things, and make it easier? And then obviously what they're building around the innovation district around Geospatial is now you're starting to have a community of those folks maybe partnering as an opportunity or help you reshape what your product is. And so I think that's the cool part, the unique part about what St. Louis is building, and also having access to early stage capital to be a part of it.
How do you work together with other organizations? Well, other investment organizations, other venture capital organizations within the Midwest, or maybe do you work with other ones bigger and nationwide to make better partnerships with the companies that you become a part of your ecosystem?
I would say we've been surprised and encouraged, first of all, that there are global international companies starting that are very interested in what we have going as an ecosystem here in St. Louis. And so we've gotten much more interest in inbound, we call it inbound deal flow, but people that are looking for investment in this area towards us, and they're wanting to be connected to the community here. And so point number one is we've been very surprised and excited about it. It's got a global reach. The second is that we work pretty hard to try to combine with the assets that we have. Andy was at Greater STL. We, as you know, have one of the best two university systems working in the geospatial area that are interested in spinning out technologies, which give us a great opportunity to evaluate, to invest, as well as support them in growing their technical talent. And so that's another great feeder. And then the third thing is that now all of our investments, we co-invest with other geospatial or space-specific investors. And so because of that, they're starting to learn more about the St. Louis ecosystem, even if they might be headquartered on the West Coast or in Amsterdam, which are two folks that we just have recently invested in. So the answer is yes, we co-invest with many folks and try to partner with the key resources, specifically locally.
one or two more questions and we'll wrap up. And one of the questions I have for both of you is, what's your opinion on how certain companies in this ecosystem have been invested in? For example, after a number of years after a lot of companies went the SPAC route, maybe your opinions on certain companies who are a little untraditional. For example, we just got word that obviously in the last week or two, how Capella got bought by IonQ, a quantum company, and people are a little bit confused by that. So between those two topics, what can I get some insights on your opinion on watching the ecosystem do certain things like that?
I think it's interesting. One is, we did see a boom of, you talking about, SPAC, companies that SPAC'd quickly between, Black Sky and Planet doing it within a month of each other. And, for us, we want to be able to see like, hey, what is that market looking like? What is the exit strategies looking like for our startups? How can they, and so we're always kind of monitoring that. I think in general, the organic growth model and what we've seen with some of the companies and being able to get deeper customer traction. But you think about things like Capella and what are those unique values, I think that people are starting to see the value of the data and how to leverage the data that's being produced. And not traditionally just delivering data to a client and solving the problems, but how can they use that data internally? And so I think that might be an interesting turning point is the value of the data might not be as present, in your traditional buyers, but they could be useful in some of these larger companies that are trying to process that data to help make a solution. So I think it's interesting to see, but the exit paths have been a little bit turbulent lately in the traditional satellite imaging space. So we always try to monitor those, but I think we see that, at least I think we see that these companies are solving problems. It's how do they figure out how to be a good mix in the market, and maybe SPACing is not the case with a publicly traded company, but maybe they're helping solve a specific problem for a larger company or organization.
Excellent. All right. Well, any last minute words in terms of what you would like our audience, this industry, to know about Cultivation Capital? Perhaps something that maybe people don't grasp right away, something that you can tell them about yourselves.
I would say we're most proud of, and we're built as an investment firm on an ethos of former operators, and we have a set of operators that have been in and around the geospatial technology system. That's unusual. And with that, we're hopeful to be able to provide insight, support, and someone that feels like we're on the same side of the table as the entrepreneurs. And so we're pretty proud of that we've got a team that's built on that experience.
And to find out more about your organization, how would you recommend people reach out?
You can go to cultivationcapital.com, and we talk about our geospatial tech fund, some of our portfolio companies that are there. And just feel free to reach out to us there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, both of you, coming on, talking about the organization, the ecosystem, and what your focus is and your interest points are.
Cool. Thank you for keeping the geospatial community up to date on the latest happenings.
Thank you, sir. And I'm Adam Simmons from Project Geospatial. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Talk to everybody next time.